Okay, is julle reg? Radio, engineering, graphics and design learners, we've still got students settling in here in this live lesson for grade 12. We're in the HSE workbook and we're busy with mechanical drawings, and of course in these initial pages we're looking at the different components, and it's quite important for you to be able to identify the different components of a mechanical drawing, and that's why in this question on page 2.3 they actually give you visually the different components and a list here of the descriptions, and you have to pair the different descriptions with the given list. So I'm going to just really talk you through the different components. You can make notes as we continue, but I want you, we're going to try and do this page plus 2.4 and 2.5 as well. So to help us out here, let me zoom in so you can really see the different components, and then we're going to get started. We'll do them in the order given. So the first one here is very well known to you, but that resembles a section line. Section line, okay? In Afrikaans is dit 'n snitlyn. Met ander woorde, dit gaan vir jou aandui, kom ons sê hier is die komponent en daar is 'n snitlyn, dan beteken dit jy gaan deur daardie voorwerp sny en die kant met die pyle word weggeneem, nee. So if there was a cutting plane or a section line going through this object, for instance, the side with the arrows would have been cut away, removed, and we would indicate that by a section line if we're wanting a sectional view of a specific component. All right. The next one here is a interrupted view of a shaft, onderbroke aansig van 'n as. Okay. So this is a shaft, but they've kind of, maybe for the lack of space or for some reason, they had to come up with an end here. They had to interrupt this end. So it's an interrupted view of a shaft, onderbroke aansig van 'n as. Wat anders is dit ook? Thank you. S-break. S-break. That's probably the easiest to remember because there's an S there. S-break, S-break. That they will also accept come your final exams. Then number 3, if we move on to 3 and 4, there's two views here. We've got a detailed representation and a conventional representation. You know what it is. It is a, help me out. Come. Yes, Afrikaans, laar, English, bearing. That's, if you guys have skateboards, that's the bearing that goes into that wheel there. Detailed representation, conventional representation of a bearing. In Afrikaans is dit 'n laar. Daar kan jy die lare sien wat die wrywing verminder. Okay. Your next drawing is hatching of thin components, arsering van dun komponente. So let me just try and see here. Okay, so that's the alternative, zoomed in part there. Hatching of thin components where not necessarily you will be able to add that hatching in arsering van dun komponente. All right. Then on number 5, that's a locking plate, sluitplaat in Afrikaans. So what you can see here, it's a plate, it's flat one. The one side folds around this corner, the other one folds around the side of that nut. And if this nut isn't tied into that spot, there's no way for that to come loose. Nee. Locking plate, sluitplaat in Afrikaans. All right, this was in grade 10 as well. It's knurling, straight knurling, reguit kartel. Kan dit hier onderskryf. Reguit kartel is daardie lyne daar, konvensioneel en weer gedetailleerd. Straight knurling, reguit kartel. Okay, next to that we've got a partial section, gedeeltelike snit. So there we have a shaft, and inside there's an internal, let's say, screw thread, for instance. So they just with freehand and hatching at 45 degrees, they show us a partial section of that shaft because we need that to find more information. Gedeeltelike snit, nee. Dis die vryhand en dan met 45 grade. Then we've got a hexagonal nut of 'n seskantige moer. Dis baie maklik om daai ene te onthou en te ken. Dan bladsy nommer 9 hier. That is a square nut. Vierkantige moer. So it's just got 4 sides, not 6 equal sides, but 4 sides. Met ander woorde, die ander kant sou presies dieselfde gelyk het, nee. Vierkantige moer, square nut. This one also well known. Who can remember what this one is? Skouer op 'n as, shoulder on a shaft. Nee, there you can see the shoulders. Just think of your own. There's your neck and your shoulders. Shoulder on a shaft, skouers op 'n as. En ons die S spreek daar net vir die wat wonder. Alright, there we have a square bolt. Vierkant bout. So where we had the nut, now we have an actual bolt. Square bolt, vierkant bout. Okay. Alright, I'm going to quick because it's just for you to familiarize yourself with the different parts. Alright. Of course we know this is a key. Now if you really pay attention, you can see the keyway in both components. Right. But then there's the key. Now this specific key has 2 holes through it. So this is called a feather key. In Afrikaans, a lei spy. Write it down there because that one you specifically need to indicate. You can't just say key, it is a feather key. In Afrikaans, daardie spy wat daar is, word genoem 'n lei spy. L-E-I, spy, lei spy. Alright, then at the bottom left, we have our third angle of the graphic projection symbol. This part, of course, is representing the front view. These 2 circles representing the left view. That's straight and ready. Alright, then we've got different screws, verskillende skroewe. Different screws, verskillende skroewe. And the last one, internal screw thread, interne skroefdraad. So just pay attention here to, and I'll zoom in because this is maybe something that I think I'd like you to see very clearly. You see there, whenever you draw your own internal screw thread, make sure that line there is visible. It's open on the side, and that shows that inside of this hole, they've taped a screw thread, binne skroefdraad. Alright, interne skroefdraad. Goed, duidelik en uiteindelik. Let me zoom out, we're going to go on, we're doing the same with 2.4 here. Let's get 2.4. There we go. We're going to run through. Alright, sorry for the transition. 2.4 is die volgende bladsy. Alright, I'll zoom in again. Let's talk yourselves through familiarizing yourself with the different components that you can find within mechanical drawings. Alright, just give a moment for the class to get to that right page. Alright, you guys ready? Here we go. Alright, the top here, you can see there's a key, of course. But look here. It's just sitting on top of that shaft. So there's no keyway in this shaft. Okay? Hierdie spy, hy sit net bo op die as. Hy het nie 'n spy geleë wat in die as ingesny is nie. So in Afrikaans afgeplatte saal spy. Die saal is soos 'n saal op 'n perd se rug, nê? Jy sit bo op daai perd, daai saal. Okay? Afgeplatte saal spy. In English, a flat saddle key. Flat saddle key. Saddle. Like a saddle on a horse. And that, make a note there, this key is just sitting on top of that shaft. So it's a flat saddle key. Afgeplatte saal spy. Alright. Then we've got a shaft on number 2. Number 3 is a castle nut. Of in Afrikaans, a kroonmoer. Okay. So just look at that nut for instance. What does it have? It's got openings, and I can put through those a pin, and you can see how that's going to work. That shaft has got a screw thread in, all right, and it's also got a corresponding hole going through. So if I then put my pin through, there's no way that it will be able to loosen. All right, you see that pin going through the nut and the shaft. Maak dit sin vir julle? Right, so I wish I had a practical example to show you, but you'll have to trust me for it. Alright, then hatching of adjacent components, arsering op aangrensende komponente, let net op dat elke keer as die rigting nie kan verander nie, moet die spasiering verander van verskillende komponente wat aangrensend is, nee. When we have adjacent components, that hatching needs to either change direction if it's of course a different component, or it needs to have a different in spacing. That's important for you to remember. Okay, so hatching of adjacent components, arsering van aangrensende komponente. Then number 5, that is a staggered section line, multiflux snylyn. Staggered section line, multiflux snylyn. Geliefdes, hierdie is allemaal goed wat in jou meganies analyties gaan voorkom, nee? In your mechanical analytical, they're going to ask you these things, so you have to, if I wake you up in the middle of the night, you must be able to answer these, of course. Then we have a full sectional view, full snit aansig, full sectional view, full snit aansig, net so vir jou, daai is 'n wat? 'n rib, nee? English and Afrikaans, that's called a rib or a web. Web is die ander een, nee? Just for the sake of it, but that's not what they asked. This is a full sectional view, full snit aansig. Dan het ons eerste hoeksortografiese projeksie. Symbool vir eerste hoeksortografiese, symbol for first angle orthographic projection, and you can see here now where the front view is on the left hand side and the left view is on the right hand side. That's first angle orthographic projection. Then we have a Woodruff key. Woodruff key. So again, keyway in both. We've got on this angled side here, we have, or the taper part of the shaft, there's a keyway. We've got another keyway, let's say on the pulley, and that key there is a Woodruff key. In Afrikaans, Woodruff. W-O-O-D-R-U-F-F. Woodruff. English and Afrikaans spell it the same. Woodruff. W-O-O-D-R-U-F-F. Woodruff key. Happy? Nobody's mad at me? Glad. I actually have a Woodruff keyway. Don't have the actual key, but maybe for those of you who can see it here, there's actually on the end of this camshaft, there was a Woodruff key in there, if you can see that. Okay. Goed. Dan het ons hier die tekening van 'n dowel of 'n tappen, Afrikaans is 'n tappen, dowel, tappen. There's a conventional representation and a detailed representation. Right, then you have next to it a hexagonal bolt, seskantige bout. You can remember the difference between this one and the square one, previous page. This is of course well known by all of you. Alright, now we again have a saddle key, but look here, there's now a hollow part to the bottom of that. In other words, it's shaped to fit the shaft, and therefore it's called a hollow saddle key. A whole sal spy. Okay, the first one was the flat one. There it is on top. There's the flat one. So there's no hollow part at the bottom. Just look at the difference between the two. This is the hollow saddle key of a whole sal spy. All right. Then the next one here is a T-end, T-stick. Okay, or T-end, T-end. T-stick, or T-end, sorry. T-end, end of end. End in Afrikaans, end in Engels. Where do I have something like that I can show you? Alright, then we've got number 13 here. It's a fork end of a virk end. Virk end, fork end. I actually have one of those for you. You can see, look at that. Exactly what you see there. Alright, so we have this fork end here, virk end. You can see by dieselfde. Okay. Good. Then next to that, we have our krap screws, klemskroewe. Okay, what's interesting, just take a note here, there's no shoulder on them. Right, like your previous screws all had a shoulder. A krap screw is just straight, linear, and it's got a place for either Allen key or some other key that goes in there. That's just for a traditional screwdriver. Got different endings, but that's a krap screw. Afrikaans 'n klemskroef. 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 Happy, the next one, all of you are going to get this one right. Who wants to try it? Come on. Yes, diamond knurling. Afrikaans, ruitkartel. Ek dink hulle gaan diamantkarteling ook sekerlik aanvaar vir Afrikaans, maar die korrekte woord is ruitkartel. Ruitkartel, diamond knurling. In my boek, diamantkarteling, is ek seker hulle sal ook aanvaar. Then you've got a spring washer, veerwasser, and you can again see there if this spring is shaped like this in the front view, if I turn my nut onto it, it's going to compress and it's going to exert the tension between this surface and that of the nut, and so that nut is going to stay in place. It's called a spring washer, of in Afrikaans 'n veerwasser. Alright, let's go on to page, ja. Number 4. Yeah, hatching of adjacent components. Alright, I'm going to just zoom out and then I'm going to put in for us 2.5. There you go, the last one in this batch of mechanical components that we have to identify, and then we're going to go over to mechanical analytics. So we're moving at a good pace here. Okay, where possible, if I can show you the different components, I'm going to show you that. Here is a part, I think it's of some kind of door slider here. Here you can see the bearing actually on the end there. But look at this spring. This is what I want to get to. That is a cylindrical spring that's used to pivot those two components. Okay? It's presies daai wat jy daar sien. There you can see the one arm and the other arm on this end. See both of those arms. Cylindrical spring, cylindrische veer. Alright? That's the first one, cylindrical spring, cylindrische veer. You will always draw it in the conventional way. Please make sure you're able to draw that to get that right. Okay. Then we've got a holes on a circular pitch, gate op 'n cirkelsteek. Okay, so you don't necessarily draw the detailed representation, but the conventional representation says to us that we've got holes on a circular pitch all the way around. Okay, gate op 'n cirkelsteek. Now, if they ask you here, what is the PCD? In Afrikaans, the SSD. What are they referring to on this? Can you remember? This is a question that's come up many times. PCD is this diameter. Alright? It stands, write it somewhere, pitch, circle, diameter. So let's say that is 100. Then it would have been diameter 100 PCD. And what that means is that this diameter, which holds all these holes, is 100 millimeters. Pitch, circle, diameter. Write it down. You have to know that. Afrikaans, SSD, dit staan vir steek, cirkel, diameter. En as dit daai diameter was, kom ons sê dit was 100, diameter 100 SSD. Is die diameter waarop daai middelpunt van daai verskillende sirkels, waar gate geplaas is. As jy by steek, circle, diameter, English, pitch, circle, diameter, you got that. It's been a question many times. Alright, then next to that we've got holes on a linear pitch, gate op 'n lineaire steek. So instead of now going in a circle, we've got a line linear pitch. Okay, conventional representation is here, holes on a linear pitch, gate op 'n lineaire steek. Okay, make sure you take a note of that. Then, help me out here, well known to all of you, this fourth one. Help me, come on. What are these two lines here indicating? Symmetry, yes. It means that this half and that half is exactly the same. So not going to, of course, you can't go and draw half of a drawing and claim symmetry, okay? It's only when they ask for symmetry that you can draw it according to symmetry. But it just means that this half and that half is exactly the same. Alright, symmetry. Symmetrische component. Happy? Alright. Number 5 here. Square on a shaft, vierkant op 'n as. Daar kan jy sien vooraansig en die linkeraansig 'n vierkant. And that's indicated by these crosses here. Square on a shaft, vierkant op 'n as. Interesting how much of this is actually in the grade 10 video that I did just the other day. You can have a look because I was able to show a lot more components in that one. Okay. Then nylock moer of a nylock nut. Nylock. So it's actually got a rubber part in that. I think you see, if you buy a bicycle these days, a lot of those nuts come out with, it's like a plastic it almost looks like it's part of the screw thread, but that's called nylock. It's a material that helps this nut stays in place. Okay, nylock moer. N-A-L-O-C-K. Same in English, N-Y-L-O-C-K. Nylock nut. Okay. Next one here, it's a revolved section. Baie belangrik, take a highlighter. Alright, so if I would cut through that and I would just twist that section, that's what this shape is of this part of the component. If I would cut through here, twist it, revolve it, that's the shape of this component. So it's a revolved section. In Afrikaans 'n gewentelde snit. Maak dit sin vir jou? Dis eintlik hulle vat net, hulle sê daardeur en hulle draai daai gewentel net daai komponent en dan kan jy sien hoe lyk sy vorm. Gewentelde snit. Gewentelde snit, revolved section. Now if they ask you what is the purpose of a revolved section, how would you explain that? Wat's die rede vir 'n gewentelde snit? What would you be the explanation that you would write? Help me out, kom. Yes. Dankie, om die ware vorm te sien van daardie voorwerp, nee. To see the true shape. You with me, juffrou Verskalkwyk? Okay, good. Number 8. Interrupted view of a pipe, onderbroke aansig van 'n pyp. Why do I know this is a pipe? Well, there's hidden detail here. And there in that S break, you can actually see they're showing you the thickness of that side. Okay. So of course, when you draw this, they're not going to specify all of this. Just make sure that the top of that hole is in line with the hidden detail. Don't worry about this thickness. But the only thing that matters is that that hole, the top is there. Happy? Alright, I know this is the most interesting chapter in the book yet, but it's important for you to know. Hatching of large areas. Let's say you've got massive areas on a drawing. For some reason, you don't have the time to do all of it. This is hatching of large areas. Arsering van groot oppervlaktes. Waarom net so op die kante vang. Al rondom die kante. Arsering van groot areas. Hatching of large areas. The next, yes. No. Right, next one, it's a lock nut sluitmoer. Alright, lock nut sluitmoer. So that's just where they have a second nut added to it. It's called a lock nut sluitmoer. This is specifically where you have components, machines that's got a lot of strain, movement, car parts, etc. They add a second lock, like we've seen all through the various components. They need to keep those locks in place. And so especially when you have a grasnyer, what's a grasnyer in lawnmower? Yeah, that's a machine that has to take a lot of bumps and shakes, so therefore they add lock nuts so that things stay in place. Alright, then you've got a stud tubboat. So again, same diameter all the way through, screw threads on either side. Then we have here a rectangular key, reghoekige spy. This is the most common key that you will find. And there you've got keyway on both ends there. So it's on both ends, just a plain rectangular key, reghoekige spy. Alright, bottom left hand side, there's a taper on a shaft. That's where I go from one diameter to a lesser diameter. And there's an angled part here, taper on a shaft. In Afrikaans, 'n tapse as. Tapse as. Moet jy skryf asseblief meer van 'n merwe? Tapse as. Alright. Then we've got a gib head key. In Afrikaans 'n neusspy. Afrikaans amper die maklikste om te onthou. Neusspy. Gib head key. And you can imagine that it's probably easier to get this one out than the others because you actually have something to hold on there. But it's also for this key not to slide all the way in or to change position. Nee, keeps in place. Gib head key, neusspy. Then just straightforward, a keyway here. And the last one is a bush of abyss. A bush of abyss. Alright, that's a talk through page 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the HSE workbook. We're going to go and see if we have time to do page 2.6, which is the first mechanical analytical. Alright, thank you for watching. Now it's your turn.